Where are we going, Ryan?
South.
South. Straight south for 8 hours.
So a little tip for anyone driving on Saskatchewan roads, especially back roads. Any person you pass, what you have to do is you have to do a little 2-finger wave there, and then they'll wave back at you. So anytime you pass someone, 2 fingers up on the top of the steering wheel, they'll wave back. It's just the law.
Yeah. Your arms aren't very big though.
Wow.
Alright, so week 8 wrap up here. This week was a deload week. Came out at a good time after Westerns last weekend. I know to start the week, I was feeling like I was ready for a deload week and needed sort of a little bit of extra recovery, and by the end of the week, things were feeling good and ready to push it. As you can see, I'm obviously not at home. We don't have American flags hanging in our garage. We're down in Gillette, Wyoming, training with Blaine. This is the second time we've come down here. We came down, I think it was in March, and trained then. Ryan benched 325 here, and now we're back. I deadlift on Friday night and benched yesterday, and then later today I'm going to squat. So heavy in all 3, singles, full gear, the fun stuff. But to go back to sort of recapping this past week, everything was raw and no gear until this past weekend. Just 165 for some squats, up to 110 for some bench, 155 for deadlift, and then some more accessory day with some lighter bench, and then one day got canceled because we were coming down here to add in a couple of extra workouts. Probably highlight of the week, or I guess the more exciting training of the week, would be deadlifting here on Friday. I think I pulled up to 202.5, working on positioning, again in a different suit than I've been in the last few weeks. Positioning I think is coming. It's still not perfect, but got a few new cues. Had some dreams the last 2 nights about deadlifting, which is very abnormal for me, so hopefully we'll take that as a positive sign of things to come. Yesterday, had on my bench shirt, again singles, and we worked up to 190 kilos. So that's 4.5 kilos over my PR that I did last weekend at Westerns, and it moved pretty well. Again, just playing with the shirt, learning some more stuff with the shirt from Blaine, tweaking it, and yeah, happy with how it moved. A little bit of body weight update here as well. So last weekend I cut 72 from like 74.2, 74.6 that morning. As expected, this week my body weight has started to really drop. Yesterday I was 72.8, this morning I was 73.1. Again, this weekend we're away, so I'm not hitting my macros perfectly, but still sort of guesstimating, tracking, so we have that data. I will be talking to Kristen again on Tuesday, and probably will be asking for a little bit of calorie increase, just because of how much my body weight has dropped this past week. And I think it has something to do with that cut last weekend, and then just my body gets going and body weight drops. Being 8 weeks out, I still have tons of time. I don't really want to get any lighter than I am. Waking up at 72 would be okay, but I don't need to be lighter than that. And I know the last 2 weeks of training, I typically, body weight will sort of plummet as I taper and don't train those last 2 weeks. So we don't want to weigh in at 60, 69 or 68 something. So want to make sure that we sort of take that into account. Beyond that, we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A with Blaine here, and then we'll train later tonight, but I think we'll include that squat in next week's recap, because today's squat workout's actually going to be part of week 9. Yeah, so we're officially halfway done this training block. It was 16 weeks long in total, and week 8 finished this week, so starting week 9, and we'll go from there.
That's good.
Is that good? I think I have to go like this. Okay, so we have Blaine Sumner here. you don't know who he is, he's kind of a big deal. Biggest Wilks in the IPF. What's your best Wilks?
692.
692. It's not bad.
Are you impressed I knew that?
No, I figured you'd know that. What's your best total?
In pounds, it's 2805. In kilos, it's 1272.5, I think.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure about the
Yeah.
kilos, but it's close.
You don't know kilos.
No.
That's okay. All right. First of all, we outsourced a bunch of questions. We're going to cover a couple of them right here. Everybody's worried about your wrist and wondering how it's doing.
It's doing good. I go back on Monday, tomorrow. They're going to take all this stuff off and take a look at the wound, and it'll have been 2 weeks, so hopefully get the stitches out. But other than that, it's getting more normal everyday life stuff, using my hand and arm.
And it's not very swollen, like at this point.
No, it's
That
not.
wrist looks a little bit more swollen, but
Yeah.
it's not too bad. So, and
I'll
then
live.
this one's healing up nicely.
Yeah, it looked a lot nastier when it happened. About the big circle there was all black and blue, and it's still kind of hard underneath, but it was like rock hard under there. It's getting better.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
So what's your plan for training?
Hopefully get some good news tomorrow to start doing things, and from there it's just going to be a matter of trying to be smart. That's going to be a big try for me, and then just not doing anything that will stress that skin. They said it takes a year to get 100% of that strength back, but I don't need 100% of it back, I don't think so.
So tons of questions about equipped lifting.
Cool.
People wondering what's the best way to transition to tighter gear?
Best way to transition to tighter gear, well, most people watching this are probably Canadian, maybe.
Probably.
Go visit the Stins, obviously. But no, I guess the simple answer is it just takes time. If I assume based on the question, if someone's already used to gear, getting tighter gear is just learning to handle the pressure more that it puts on you, and getting comfortable, slowly increasing the weight over time. Tighter gear, you're gonna have to use more weight to get down, use more weight to touch, and it's just a matter of brick by brick, getting more comfortable with tighter gear, more pressure, more weight.
Yeah, just take it in over time. Like even from this weekend, I had my shirt on yesterday and the sleeves basically more or less slide on. So Blaine yelled at me a little bit and told me I need to tighten those up. So we're gonna play with that for the next couple of weeks, and it'll suck at times probably. You get used to arms going and legs going gray and a little bit numb, but it's all part of the sport. So
I think it's a lot like hook gripping for people that have transitioned to hook grip. At first it's horrible. It's terrible, but then you get to a point where it just doesn't hurt any worse. It's just kind of whatever, you know it's coming, doesn't bother you.
it's true. My hook grip experience was not like that. I gave it a couple of weeks and yeah, it still just hurt too much, so I switched back to mixed grip.
Not long enough.
Probably not long enough, no. But I wasn't patient enough. And I had Classic Worlds in like a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
What are your secrets to getting a ton out of a bench shirt?
Time and an open mind. I don't reveal the secrets that I've found, except to Rhaea. But there's a lot of things that exist in the equipped powerlifting world that I don't agree with, and I think they just exist because that's the way people have always done it. So just open mind of how to use the shirt differently, how to figure out how the shirt works, develop your own opinions, experiment, and then again the time thing. There's not going to be a magic fix to the shirt or a technique where you can do 50 kilos more than you've ever done, because your body's not going to be able to handle that. So it's just incrementally over time, have an open mind, try different things, get used to heavier weight in your hands.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing one of the biggest things I learned from you in the last however long, year and a half, is just that it's not, and that's what gets me when people are like, oh, well, how are you getting so much out of the shirt? It's like, well, I think it was from Nationals last year to basically Nationals this year. I went back through my program and I was in the shirt like 60 plus times in less than 52 weeks. So it's like, well, you're learning the gear, you're actually in it, and that way you can tweak it. It's not just, okay, here's the size you need, throw it on, and
Yep.
it'll do the work for you.
Exactly.
So, this one I thought would be interesting to get your opinion on. Somebody said that they're a lifter struggling to stay upright while squatting. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah. Don't emulate my squat. That's a pretty open-ended question. I think a lot of time has to do with anatomy and how much of that you can control. But if it is, you've identified it as a weakness that you do collapse. I think safety squat bars are great to help improve that. And then another big one is, I'd say, just videoing yourself from the side. Things always feel different than they look. And if you can start to get in the habit of some sort of self-analysis and self-teaching of what's happening when you're rounding or falling forward, and start to address it both by strengthening exercises like the safety squat bar, and then technical cues, whichever you may come up with, whether it's elbows forward or whatever works for you. So that's my short answer to a long question.
What are some of your favorite accessory movements?
Ooh.
And I don't think you're allowed to say Bulgarian split
My favorite accessory movements to do or to tell the athletes to do?
We can do both. To do yourself first.
To do myself, probably curls. If you couldn't tell by the size of the guns that you keep making fun of me for. No, but in reality, actually something that's worked, I know has worked for me over the past couple months is a upper body one. It's been incorporating more like dumbbell flies. I've always been kind of a big believer in at least having some sort of bodybuilding movement in there. But one of the little twists I put on it recently was lying on the floor with dumbbells, and so you're coming from a dead pause, sort of like we do same principle with the pin bench presses or dead benches.
So you're talking like a pec fly.
Yes, yeah, pec fly. I mean, there's obviously a huge range of accessories, so I stayed away from the compoundish ones. My favorite accessory to tell someone to do, Bulgarian split squats, without a doubt.
Why?
Because no one likes them,
No.
and they're great.
Nobody likes them.
They're great.
They're not, though.
They are.
Except tell the story about what happened when you did them. And you had to crawl out of the gym with like 3 bottles of Gatorade.
That's partially due to the exercise, but also partially due to the heat and humidity. So you got to make sure you have
the exercise.
It probably was more of the exercise. You just gotta want it, I guess.
It's true. How much weight do you use for Bulgarian split squats?
The most I've done is 315 for I think sets of 5 or 6, but it's strange because like 135 feels extremely miserable and heavy, and it's
true.
like all you can do. But so it's a weird exercise.
It is. It's a good one though.
One plate, you feel like that's all you can do because you're so destroyed just by 5 or 8 reps. But you can go up.
Why are mine always programmed so much more reps?
You gotta grow your legs. Make your suit tighter because you won't get a tighter suit. So we just gotta.
You haven't seen how tight my squat suit is yet though.
We'll see today.
We'll see today. See if it passes you. It won't because the hips are loose.
No.
So I'll tell you that now.
I'm less worried about the tight squat suits than the
That's
tight bench
true.
shirts.
Because you did actually take your squat suit off before you went to the hospital with
Yeah.
a gaping wound in your arm.
I did, on the run too.
Which you shouldn't be able to do with a tight squat suit. When I saw that you did that, I was like, he either went to the hospital in his squat suit or cut it off to get it off fast. But no, it was loose enough, you just slid it off.
Yeah.
But that's probably a good prognosis for what your squat can look like in a little bit tighter gear. Because that
That's
moves
true.
pretty well, minus the re-rack.
Yeah.
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 And
What's his thoughts on Rhea's
how
journey?
come Rhea is so strong?
Maybe he can answer that too.
Can you answer that?
Yeah, that's an easy answer. Why is Rhea so strong? Because she's been dedicated and consistent and passionate for 16, 17, 20 years?
16? Yeah, 16, I guess.
For 16 years. That would be my answer to it. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It's a huge part of it.
I don't think there's any secrets or shortcuts. Some people will be able to gain strength faster than others, but the people that put in the most consistent, dedicated time and stick with it and fight through downfalls are the ones that end up being the strongest and on top.
Cool. Thanks.
You're welcome. go buy inner strength stuff.
So thank you to Blaine for taking a little bit of time. Thank you for hosting us this weekend, obviously.
Absolutely.
It's always fun to come down here and train and get some new ideas. And as always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, and let us know of anything you want addressed in the future weeks. We're halfway through training for Worlds.